Everyone, and good evening to people who have joined in from different time zones. Thanks for making time for this session. The reason I'm doing this session is over the last 48 hours, it's been difficult for a lot of people. People have been dealing with difficult emotions, and the whole idea is to address these. So many people have written in with different expressions of emotions. So I put together a couple of points today to help us navigate through these feelings, learn how to navigate through these feelings now, in the present, and in the future. I'm not here to preach, I'm here to teach. What I'm here to do is help you with a beautiful tool called understanding. In life today, everyone throws solutions at you. Oh, don't think too much about it. Meditate your way through this. Or forget about this. This is not your story. And that's okay. But we actually start our journey of healing through understanding. When we understand our feelings, when we understand our thoughts, when we understand why am I feeling this way? Why has this news actually created so much of sadness and more fear in my life? There are people dying all the time. There are people dying right now as we speak in different countries, different world, different conditions, diseases, cancers. But this particular incident has shaken all of us up, including myself. When it first happened, I felt low. I felt a very personal attachment to everything that was happening around. And so it's important for us to heal with understanding. Everything can be better through understanding. Most relationships break up today, not because of a lack of what we should do, but it's a lack of understanding. We don't put an effort to understand how the human mind and how the human heart works. So we go more with assumptions, we go more with reactions, we go more with cookie cutter approaches of, hey, what's making you feel better? Let me try that. But when we go deeper into ourselves, we'll understand that most of our fears originate from how we were brought up as children, our understanding of fear, our attachment to certain outcomes, and it's no one's fault. I'm not here to take away from anyone's suffering and anyone's loss or anyone's feelings. Everyone's feeling is absolutely valid to them. No one can judge your feeling and say, hey, come on, be stronger. Just be happy it was not you. Be grateful you didn't die. These are not strong emotional statements that can help us feel better. We need to go deeper into ourselves and understand what's going to work for us. So everyone's feeling is valid. We do not want to fall into a bracket of toxic positivity. What is toxic positivity, for example? Example is, come on, just focus on the positive. Focus on the positive. You're feeling sad, just be positive. Think positive. That's toxic positivity, because how can you feel positive if you have a valid feeling of fear? If you have a valid feeling of sadness. So the first step of today is to be okay with how you feel. Your feeling is valid. Maybe your reactions can warrant some way of getting better. Maybe how you're responding to the situation, we can learn how to navigate through that and learn how to reframe or put it into a better perspective. But your feeling is valid. So some of you are feeling angry, valid. Sad, valid. Envious that there was one survivor, but everyone else died, valid. Out of control, valid. Anxious, valid. Fearful, absolutely valid. So all your feelings are valid. Now, what we do with them is up to each of us. And what we do with them, there is no fixed action list that all of us should meditate, all of us should pray. Everyone will have their own ways. We're going to navigate through different ways of understanding, number one, why we feel this particular way. So we're also going to do a couple of exercises. I want you to have your pen and paper handy right now. I'm going to go point through point because so many people have written in, and I want to try to answer most people's queries and fears through what we're going to do. So everything starts with a why. Why are we feeling this way right now? There are deaths that happen all the time. Why this particular incident? Why do we have a shared sadness or a shared fear? Human suffering has obviously been amplified, one, by the event that happened, and two, by the media. Like if any of you got on the news today, now there are more reportings of helicopter crashes and 4 or 5 people who died in a helicopter crash. And it's just amplifying what event already happened. Okay, that's how the media works. One point of what we're going to go today through is how to handle the media, how to handle the news that is constantly getting into our heads so that we can feel better. So we're also going to be doing that. A few days ago, a journalist posted a beautiful story. On a flight, there was turbulence, okay? And there were recordings of people praying in different languages to different gods. You see, when there is human suffering, we stop the fight in the name of religion. We stop to judge whose religion is better. We stop to judge all these things. People come collectively together when there is human suffering, and everyone is praying in their own language. Some are chanting, some are, mentioning the names of their God. And this journalist brought out a beautiful story of when there was this turbulence on this flight. This was about 3 to 4 days ago. She's saying, just look how humanity came together. Everyone was praying, everyone was collectively following their own paths that could give them some amount of relief and some amount of strength. And when we're not in those conditions of shared sadness or danger, people are fighting in the name of religion, whose religion is better, whose spiritual part is better. It's just to show you an example of the same human mind that has come together now, irrespective of religion, irrespective of beliefs, to share a sadness. Today, all my answers are going to be based on a little bit of basic psychology, a little bit of basic neuroscience, and a large amount of experience. The crash evokes a sadness in all of us. It's something called empathetic distress, where we feel the pain of what the victims may have gone through, what the families may have gone through, what the survivor may have gone through, as if they were our own. Our mirror neurons, we have something called mirror neurons in the brain, and they activate when we witness human suffering. Like if you look at the crash site, there were people, not just in uniform, all probably different religions, different parts of society, all coming together just to look for dead bodies, to see how they can help. And this happens in all kinds of situations. Humans come together when they witness suffering. Okay, this is because of the mirror neurons in our brain, they reflect suffering. And what I mean by empathetic distress is all of us are feeling the pain. That's why we feel the sadness. Oh, how are the families feeling? How are the parents feeling? How are the parents of the crew feeling? We're all literally empathetically connecting through distress. This is a human thing, and we're going to go deeper and deeper into this. Now, let's move away the air crash. Okay? Let me come from my expertise of handling cancer for years. When someone has cancer in the family, all of a sudden, most of the family members around start to fear cancer because cancer has become the context of suffering. The context of our suffering over the last 48 hours was the air crash. Now, God forbid something worse happens in the next few days. The context of the air crash will slowly diminish, and the new context will come into place. Like right now, there are several things that make us feel unsafe as humans in our country: crime against women, rapes, molestations. There are all different contexts of fears, but wherever the media will amplify more and more of it, and whatever we think of more and more will become our context. So right now, someone suffering with cancer, probably terminally, their context of fear will not be the air crash. Their context of fear will be their actual fear, which is their disease. Okay, tomorrow there may be a tsunami somewhere in the world. A lot of people may die. A new context of suffering. And the media will bring in global warming, and this could be your city, and this is what's going to happen. And our new context of fear shifts automatically. Is it your fault? No, it's how the human mind works. Let me give you a simple example. I give the story to so many people. About 13 years ago, I used to do hospital visits, and a renowned hospital in South Bombay. I would go very often to see this terminally ill patient, bone cancer, spread to the liver, to the kidney, to the brain. And everyone was honestly just waiting for a mercy death, for the patient to die. The suffering was too much. But then you have miracles. You have something called auto remission, where the patient goes into complete remission. On the day of the patient's discharge from hospital, we all go to celebrate. There's a cake, and there's a cake to celebrate. The family is there to celebrate, and all of that stuff. I leave in about 15, 20 minutes to head back to Bandra to see some patients, and then a couple of hours later, I learn that this patient, after being literally in hospital for 3 months, walks out of the hospital and gets hit by a bus and dies. Now, what does this teach us? His only want was to survive the cancer, to live, but his life gets taken away with something else. Why am I sharing the story? Just for you to understand our context of fear is what is in front of us right now, according to our life experiences and to what we give the most attention. But anything can happen anytime. We don't like this, but it's the truth. We don't like it, but it's non-debatable because it is real. Why do we not like this? Because we feel out of control. We feel a sense of helplessness. The human mind loves to be in control. It's not a bad thing. It's for survival. We're going to come into that a little bit deeper. Now, why do humans seek reasons for bad events? Why does bad news attract more attention than good news? It's very simple. It comes down to how the human body and the brain works. We have a cognitive need for control and predictability. Humans have a natural drive to make sense of what is happening, just to feel in control. So if I say someone died of a heart attack, we want to know why. How? A young man, 32 years old, dies of a heart attack. It's scary news. Until the human mind gets a reason. He was smoking too much, vaping too much, poor lifestyle, whatever it is. But the moment the human mind gets a reason, it helps our mind make sense of the situation, giving us a little bit more control. But if no one knows why the person died, no one knows why the little baby died within 6 months of childbirth, we start growing more and more fear because the human mind needs a narrative. The human mind needs to have patterns that gives it some reason as to why the incident happened. Until we learn of why the air crash happened, our fears are going to be a lot. But the moment we get to know the truth, whatever it is, engine failure, whatever it is, bird hit, all our fears will start to come down a little bit more because now, psychologically, the mind has made sense of an event that has threatened and taken away human life. It is the fear of uncertainty, the fear of being out of control. Everyone's anxiety right now, air crash or not, arises from a sense of perceived threat. You perceive your deadline that your boss has given you as a threat or a challenge. Big difference. You perceive the prognosis of your disease as a challenge or as a threat. Big outcome of how you're going to be emotionally and mentally. So, one, our fear is how we perceive a problem. Is it a threat or is it just a challenge? And the second is we get anxious because we feel out of control. We don't get anxious when we get a cold and a cough because we know there's medical treatments. We know that not many people will die because of a cold and a cough. But take a cancer. The information is completely different. Medication may be lesser, more deaths, more media amplification. So our sense of control challenges our sense of safety. We're feeling low because of the air crash because a large part of our sense of safety has been challenged. So we feel out of control. What if we were on that flight? I have a flight tomorrow. My loved one has a flight day after. Our safety is now threatened. But finding a reason as to what happened. There's a murder in your society. Immense fear. When you find out, you want to know why was the murder caused? Who murdered the person? And as we get more information, our minds build a narrative with the information that we get. Sometimes, even if we don't get the information, our mind, as a coping mechanism, will create our own narratives to make us feel safer. So if you go onto Instagram, which is not the place to be right now, you'll see so many people, astrology, oh, we predicted this. Everyone coming up with different ways only to cope with their own uncertainty. Some people will say it's God's way, God's will. And if it gives them comfort, their feelings are valid. Some people will say, oh, it's science, it's this, it's that, whatever. If it gives them comfort, it's valid. But you see, everyone's mind is finding patterns. They're all finding patterns just to make sense of the situation and to have a feeling of control. Knowing the cause makes things seem a little less random and more predictable. The human mind likes predictability. It's called cognitive predictability. We want to be in places where we can predict. A cancer patient will say, what are my chances of survival? They want predictability to feel safe. What is the predictability of X, Y, Z happening? It is purely to feel safe. When we feel safe, fear is diminished. So that is the number one reason what has happened. We're all looking for something to make sense of something as tragic as an air crash. The second is we're all feeling a loss of control, helplessness. We can't do anything right now. There's nothing that we can do. That loss of feeling of being in control, that fear of a loss of control is what is making us feel this way. The human mind wants to be in control. Why? Most cases, it's ego and pride. But below ego and pride, we want to be in control because it's survival. We want to know, we want more information because the human instinct below us is survival. We'll get deeper into that right now. So if we're feeling a loss of control right now, what are the little things that you and I can do right now? Can we volunteer? Can we donate blood? Can we pray? Can we have group prayer meetings if you're religious? Can we just try to meditate and send energy to the families? Can we not spread misinformation? Can we not speculate and bring religion in? Can we control our anger and not project it on others? These are little actions that we can do right now to gain a little bit more control. Can we try to look for acceptance that, hey, no matter what our minds say, it is what it is. The crash has happened. State of acceptance. Now, what can we do? If we're in a state of resistance, I can't believe this happened. How could this happen? You're in a state of denial and resistance. In a state of resistance, you are in a state of disharmony. But the bitter, ugly truth is it's happened. There is nothing wrong with being in acceptance. Because when you're in a state of acceptance, you have more mental clarity and mindfulness to now choose the actions that you want to influence. But if you're in a state of distress and denial, and how could it happen, there's no way you can take or influence the right actions. Let's move to the next point, emotional coping mechanism. Tragic incidents will trigger off emotions like sadness, anger. By finding a reason to process this, gives you a narrative. So, for example, once we get the narrative of why the crash happened, a lot of our fear is going to be there, but it's going to come down because now the human mind has something called a pattern. Your prefrontal cortex of the brain is your problem solving part of the brain. There is ambiguity right now, and it's looking for information, whether it's right or wrong, to create a story. So we solve that problem, and your prefrontal cortex can now relax. This is a brain thing. Our prefrontal cortex needs to problem solve. So it'll take anything, it'll build an illusion, taking information from everywhere. That's why our minds can also believe the wrong information. Our minds can believe rumors. Because as long as we get a pattern in our brain that can give us some amount of peace, sense of control, safety, that's what's happening in your brain right now. But now the amygdala is the part of your brain that responds to threats. If I feel threatened right now, my amygdala, part of the brain, is sensitized. It's looking for solutions. If the threat is removed, the amygdala part, which is the emotional part of my brain, relaxes. Many of you have written in, Luke, I'm feeling out of control. My emotion is anger, grief, guilt. I'm so confused. That's your amygdala. That is not you. It's because you have threat. Everything you're seeing now is perceived by threat. As the threat starts to come down, okay, like we get more information that, hey, it was an engine failure. And your mind starts to accept that, hey, it can happen. Who said these things can't happen? As we start to make peace with this, the amygdala part of your brain will start to relax and feel calmer. There's a robbery. You don't know. but the murderer's caught or the robber's caught, and now you have information as to what happened, the amygdala will start to relax because the threat is reduced. The next point, which is the most common point that can bring us peace right now and eventually, is our ancestral need, our evolutionary need is to understand danger so that we can avoid it. The curiosity, and that's why we're always more about who got raped, who got molested, who got hit, and who was the person in the accident, who fell from the top story of the building, who died in that crash. Why does our mind move to that? Because it is seeking, as an evolutionary response, more information so that we can try to avoid that or protect ourselves. If a rape happened in a dark alley, and now the police and everyone says that's why never go out in dark alleys, never send your daughters out, never go out in dark alleys in the night, all of that stuff, okay? The threat comes down. You have now information to protect yourself. Until you got that information, you were threatened. So it is normal for every single human being to gravitate to what threatens survival and safety. This may be different for everyone. Someone who doesn't have a child, when you're not a parent, it will not be important to you, this part of the threat. When you're a parent, it may suddenly become more important. So it's important for you to validate your feelings. Our brain, your brain, my brain, everyone's brain is wired towards survival. Right now, as I'm talking, there's only one thing trillion cells in our bodies doing. It's trying to survive. It's trying to survive to keep you alive. That is why you should value and respect the intelligence and beauty of your body. While we're sleeping, while you're drinking, you're smoking, bad habits, good habits, your cells are working for you in a mode of survival all the time. You give it the right lifestyle, it moves from survival to thriving. So that's another reason why. Some people say you're negative all the time because you're watching the news. You're negative because you're talking about bad news. You're not negative. There's a reason why we even share bad news. It's a part of social bonding. If I share bad news, hey, don't go out, there's a snake over there in the corner, this way, whatever. I'm sharing news as a survival instinct to help other people. Now, there's a big difference between rumor mongering and gossip. When people share, they're sharing because they want to protect other people. So they're saying, hey, be careful of that place. There's a travel ban in this country, be careful. It's just a precautionary warning because survival is important to all of us. Now, the brain's reward system is dopamine. And that is why when we solve a problem or a problem of the air crash gets solved in our head, it happened because of this and this and this, our dopamine will increase and we'll start to feel better. When we solve a problem, dopamine increases. When we have a complicated cancer and it's solved, dopamine comes up. Dopamine is your reward molecule. So you see, the more information we get, someone who's religious, and the priest says, or whoever says that, listen, don't worry, just trust in God. Everyone, if that person has faith and belief, dopamine increases and you feel safe. Everyone's safety is up to them. We can't judge anyone's way of getting safety as long as it doesn't harm one another. So it's extremely important. Now look at the human minds. Seat 11A. It's giving people hope. For many people, it's just that could be luck, it could be God's plan. But for many people, 11A is now the safest seat in the plane. Is everyone's thinking the wrong thinking? Can we judge everyone's thinking? No. Look at the human mind looking and searching for bits of safety, moments of hope, things that just give the brain some sense of the whole situation and the future. Everyone's brain is looking for little things to give it a safety net, a little more hope, a little more strength. Why? To reduce fear. So 11A, everyone will have their own thoughts and perceptions around that seat. Businesses will exploit it, airlines will charge more for it, whatever it is. That's how the world works. But we're not bothered about that. Well, just looking at how our minds are working right now. We're trying to make sense of anything. For what? To get safety. When anyone's safety is threatened, the entire human body is threatened. That's why when we look at patients, terminal, whatever, the first thing we're trying to establish with them in this is a sense and a feeling of safety. Because when we don't feel safe, we're in a fight and flight response, more inflammation, more everything. All right, before we get into the exercise, I must also talk to you about we're also fearful now because of the way the media has amplified all of this. When is the last time you saw the media amplify anything good happening in the world? Anything happy happening in the world? So we're going to come to that. Now let's get straight into solution mode. All right, I'm going to have a look at the Q&A box or the chat box. The first thing that we're going to do, okay, is basically name the emotion. Why are we going to do this? Because everyone, look, I don't know what I'm feeling. I chatted with a couple of people on Instagram and I had some time and I asked them, what are you feeling? I'm just feeling, I don't know. So now let's all take a few minutes to name the emotion that you're feeling right now. Why are we doing this exercise? If you don't know what you're feeling, you're out of control. But if you calm down right now, take a few deep breaths, name the emotion. I'm sad. I'm unhappy. I'm scared. I'm angry. I want you to name the emotion. You can share it or you can write it down. Because when you name the emotion, you have your first starting point of what you can do with the emotion. All right? So name your emotion. What are you feeling? One word. I don't want a sentence. I want you to feel what you're feeling and bring it down to one word. I see that. Anxious, sad, sad and scared. Anxious, grief, sadness, sadness, fear, insecurity. Okay? Now, I see a lot of questions. Why didn't God do this? Why didn't God do that? We'll come to that later. Okay? Now, fear, common words. Everyone's feeling all of these things. Every word that you've mentioned is coming from a state of we're feeling out of control. Our safety has been threatened. All right. Now, let's come straight down to psychology. We have to learn to accept what we feel. So, someone's feeling insecure, accept it. I feel insecure right now. I feel sad right now. But what is in our control right now is how can we respond to this? How are we going to diffuse this emotion of insecurity over time? So, right now, if you were in, I don't know how I'm feeling, you now know how you're feeling. You have named the emotion. Is your emotion a fact or an assumption? It's a fact. It's how you're feeling right now. No one can tell you, how can you feel sad? Think of the victims' families that died. No, that is very, very wrong. That's a very wrong way of trying to give people compassion. Someone's feeling lost. Absolutely, I'm lost. Why? You're feeling lost because you're helpless. You've lost a sense of control. And ancestrally, from evolution, the human mind wants to be in a state of control to protect ourselves, to survive. So we have to learn to accept what we are feeling right now. But how are we responding right now? Are we responding rationally or irrationally? Example, I'll never fly again. It's okay, that's how you feel right now, but irrational. It doesn't judge you in any way. I will never fly Air India again. Rational or irrational, it's your choice. You do what makes you happy. You have other choices, it's up to you. No one comes and say, oh, it could happen on any airline. Doesn't matter. You're not flying Air India, it could happen on any air. People would love to come with their own opinions, and that's why in your own emotional journey of healing, it is always you. Other people's opinions don't matter. It's what matters. What matters is how you feel and how you're navigating through it. That's why today we're learning the powerful gift of understanding. No one can give you a solution to how you're feeling right now. You have to navigate through these emotions on your own. And if you can't do it on your own, there's counseling, there's therapy for someone to help you navigate through. But no one can tell you, be strong. Your feelings aren't valid. You're alive. Be grateful. No, that's a slight form of gaslighting. You don't want to be in that position right now. Okay? Your emotions are valid, but they do not define you. I want you to write that down. I'm fearful right now, but it doesn't define who I am. I'm okay to go through fear, but this does not define the rest of my life. It does not define the rest of my air travel. It's an emotion that I'm feeling right now. It is not defining who you become. It is only defining what actions you're going to take, what emotional mindset changes you're going to make as you get more and more information and as time heals you. It is important for you to understand that your emotions are real, but they do not define you or your future or your tomorrow. The crash hurts us because we're all human. We care, we feel a sense of loss. It could be our family members. Somewhere we're all seeking a question of fairness. Like, why did this happen? How could God do this to me? Some people say there's no God, it's science, it's how it is. We're all lost amidst all of these things, and all of your feelings are valid. For the question of God, let's take that up right now. Okay, I don't know. I'm not eligible to preach to you on that, but I am eligible to tell you one thing. Most of us live our lives from a state of entitlement. That, how could this happen to me? Why shouldn't it happen to you? Why shouldn't it happen to you? I want you to reframe the way you think about things. We have become so pompous and egoistic that why me? Victim mode always. It's not wrong. But we become so prone at growing so entitled. How could this happen? How could it not happen? Why did this happen? There's a why not as well. That is why spirituality and being connected with ourselves teaches us to humble our emotions. Anything can happen to anyone at any moment. This is not a choice. This is something that you have to embrace. But people that don't embrace this face the most disappointment when their expectations crash. Is it karma? What is karma? What is karma? Do we know if it's karma? We don't know. We like to. See how the human mind is searching for. It's beautiful, the questions coming. Is it God's plan? Someone else asks. What is your mind doing right now? It doesn't matter. We will never have the right answer. No one can tell you whether it was God's plan, whether it was karma. We will never know because there is not a human being on this planet that is equipped to tell you that. But look how the mind is working. What is it searching for by asking these questions? It's searching for a pattern to give you peace, understanding, and make sense of a tragic situation so you feel safer. Even if it's karma, what does karma teach us? The only way out of karma is going through it. Acceptance. I have some cancer patients who say, Luke, it's my karma. I think I've done bad things in life. Whatever. I say, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's your karma, what does karma teach us? Now you need to go through this. We need to go through this pain. We need to go through everything that's happening. That's how we fulfill our karma, by not resisting it, but by accepting it and going through it. That's how everyone fulfills their karma, if this is karma. Okay, let's come back straight now to, you've named your emotion. So now you know how you're feeling. Okay, let's get into reframing. All right, someone wrote in, Luke, now flying is too dangerous. It's too dangerous, Luke. How can we reframe this? Because every negative, you can't get rid of a negative, but you can change it into a positive. And that's what we need to do. If we do not learn how to reframe our fear, the fear is going to grow more and more and more. Yes, flying can be dangerous, but I still want to trust the process of life. Flying is dangerous, but I hope with this incident, airlines will be more cautious about maintenance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You are just taking a negative and not making it your fact. It's an emotion. It's an emotional signal. It's not your fact. Flying is dangerous. How do you reframe that into a positive? Crashes are rare. I hope maintenance improves. I want to trust the process of life. Someone else wrote, and Luke, I'm too scared to fly. Valid point. How do you make this a positive? I'm fearful to fly today because of what has happened, but I trust the process of life. I have to feel safe. If prayer gives me strength, I'll pray more. I can hope that these things don't happen, or you have a choice not to fly again. It'll take time, but do not leave a negative a negative. Always remind yourself, what happened in the air crash can happen in 100 different forms. It can come through a disease. It can come through a freak snake bite. It can come through a fall. It can come through a road accident. Right now, we're giving power and attention to the creative visual of the air crash because that is what we've seen. That's what the media has amplified, and that is what is real to us. But think about it. There are 100 plus other ways to die. There are 100 plus other accidents that can happen to you and me. So by thinking this way, it diffuses fear a little more. That's what happens. So it's all about understanding. I'm not taking away your fear. Yes, but it crashed into a medical college, someone writes. Yes, it happened. Now, what are we doing with that? What can we do with that? We can pray for the medical students. We can pray it doesn't happen to our families. It is what it is. Feel your emotion. It's threatened your security because, hey, a plane can crash into your home tomorrow. A car can crash into your home tomorrow. Anything can crash into your home, your workplace. It's threatened our safety. While most people will think of the plight of the medical students, subconsciously, everyone's actually thinking about their safety that has been threatened. So reframing. What if my loved one was on a flight? Someone wrote into me last night, Luke, what if it was my loved one? He was supposed to go to London 5 days later. But right now, it isn't. Pray for the survivors. Pray for the safety of your husband in the future. Reframe. What can we do? Is everyone going to stop flying? Maybe some people will stop flying for a while until they heal. Some people will go into flying with fears. Some people will go with strength, hope. It's different for everyone. Everything is valid. Now we're going to do the next topic, because what we need to do, understand one thing about fear. Fear always pulls us towards what if. That's when we're in a state of fear. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if I take the medication, but my cancer comes back? What if I do this? What if I meet with an accident? So fear always pulls us towards what if. Sadness pulls us towards the past, always towards the past. But mindfulness anchors us in the present, and it helps us to feel safe where we are. Remember that. Fear will pull you towards what if this happens? What if it doesn't happen? Is what someone could tell you logically. What if it doesn't happen? So the point is to understand fear will keep us in the what ifs. Sadness will pull us towards the past. So if you're feeling sad all the time, it's because you're thinking about the past all the time, which is also valid. But mindfulness will bring us to the present. So right now, we're going to close eyes, take 4 deep breaths. Inhale, exhale through your nostrils, your own count, just to center down. We're going to do a grounding exercise, because this is something. What are we trying to do? Will it take away the air crash? Will it take away your suffering? No, but it's going to help you find your mindfulness in the moment, which equals your peace in the moment. Remember, every religion teaches you, every spiritual path teaches you that suffering comes from clinging to what's gone or fearing what's not here. But the present is always your refuge. Your present is your peace. That's why mindfulness is your superpower. 3, 4 deep breaths. Close your eyes right now. All we're going to do is, I am safe. I feel safe. Oh, but Luke, I don't feel safe. That's your conscious mind. How can I feel safe, Luke? What we're trying to do is program your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a truth and a lie, fantasy and imagination, which means whatever you tell your subconscious mind on repeat, it will start to believe. Okay, so you're trying to do it right now. I feel very unsafe. Now I want you to go through the word that you named your emotion, anger. I feel angry, but I feel safe. I feel anxious. I want you to add, but I feel safe. I don't want to ever fly again, but I feel safe. I'm worried about my loved ones, but I feel safe. This is an exercise that I want you to keep practicing. Just what has been threatened is your safety. So what you're affirming is your safety. Everyone who named their emotion is linked with a threat to safety and feeling out of control. The crash may make us fear tomorrow, but right now, you and I, we're breathing. We're alive. Tomorrow's a different day. Let the healing start now, at this moment. Tomorrow's a different day. Your fears are valid. But right now, I want to feel safe. It's not toxic positivity to use an affirmation. It's toxic positivity to use an affirmation and ignore the validity of your negative feelings. That's why, if you listen carefully to the exercise, the person who wrote that, you are acknowledging the emotion you named. I feel angry, but I feel safe. You may not feel safe because your conscious mind is looking for pattern. Your conscious mind is looking for reason, but your subconscious mind doesn't need a reason. It needs repetition, repetition, repetition. If you're a parent, your child falls down, you say, don't worry, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. You don't even know if you'll be fine, but what are you doing? You're giving your child assurance, comfort, a feeling of safety, even if they're not going to be fine. The human mind is your super tool. Never forget that it's your human mind that has created all these negative emotions. And it is your human mind that will get you through these negative emotions. It only depends on how much attention you're going to give the negativity and how much attention you're going to take a negative and move it slowly into a positive. Many people died. Yes, I'm sorry, I can pray for them, but I need to focus now on life. I need to focus on what I can do, my actions. So, this grounding exercise, whenever you feel out of control, it is what you do at that particular point. You close your eyes. Now, if you're not validating your negative feeling and you're just going, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, toxic positivity, but here you are acknowledging, you have named your emotion, it's real to you, you're acknowledging it, and now you're just closing the negative with a positive affirmation. So affirmations are super powerful. I am safe. I feel safe. I am protected. I feel protected. Now, if you're doing an affirmation with an expectation that your affirmation will protect you always in life and nothing can ever happen to you, that's your ego. We're affirming, still knowing that uncertainty is real, still knowing that anything can happen. But imagine living with that fear every day. Anything can happen. I could die today. Negativity, negative emotions, negative behavior, negative life. So we use affirmations the same way you tell your child, you can do it, you can do it, your exam's going to be good. What are these positive affirmations? Simple programming of the subconscious mind. What's the next exercise? We can honor loss through action. What's one little action each of you today can do to honor the loss of the people who died? What is one little thing? Do it. You'll feel better about yourself. Can you donate? Can you give blood? Can you make a call? Can you volunteer? Can you reach out to family members and spend more time with them? Honoring loss by learning from what's happened. So many posts on Instagram, never leave your home without hugging your child, never leave your home. Where are these lessons? These lessons have always been there. It took a tragic experience for us to be reminded about basic humanity, care for one another. So can we start doing these little things today? By doing these little things, remember, fear is the absence of action. When you have fear and you take an action, the fear starts to get lesser and lesser. It's always that way. Now, visualization is the next exercise, super powerful. One of the only things that can probably get us through this. We have all visualized the plane crashing, charred bodies, families that never saw one another again. That's what's in our visualization right now. And because we're visualizing that, that's why we're feeling negative and bad right now. Now, how do we make positive visualization happening? I'm scared to fly again, but I'm on a flight to New Delhi tomorrow. And all I'm doing is I believe in God, I believe in the divine, I believe in miracles, so I pray, but I'm also visualizing that from the moment I leave my home, I'll come back safely. I'm just visualizing. I'm not visualizing the plane won't crash, all of that stuff. I'm just visualizing safety in any particular way. So my visualization is from the moment I leave home, I will come back home safe and sound. That's it. And that gives me strength and hope. I have a flight tomorrow. I'm sure many of you have flights tomorrow. So visualization is nothing but you creating the outcome that you want. It's easy to visualize as the plane's taking off. Oh no, is it going to crash, crash, crash? Everyone's going to feel that. It's also to visualize that your plane will take off and land safely. Now that is up to you. That is completely up to you. Visualization is absolutely super powerful. I had pilots and cabin crew reach out to me. Luke, what can we do? What can we do? Give us an affirmation. What can we do? Of course, they can only visualize. They can affirm that I'm trained for this. I'm trained. I can do my best. I'm trained because we're not in control of life and death, period. If you are trying to be in control of life and death, you will always live a life of misery. If you think you're in control of anything, you will always live a life of misery. That's why we need to embrace uncertainty right now. By embracing uncertainty, it teaches us one thing. What actions can I influence right now? I've seen people who have never believed in God, never believed in religion. And when they get cancer, or they're on their deathbeds, they turn to religion. The human mind turns to anything that can give it safety, solace, or some feeling of comfort. Nothing can be judged. Visualization is powerful. The next is prayer. If prayer gives you strength, if your spiritual part gives you strength, are you aligning with it right now? Even spirituality doesn't tell you anything's guaranteed. Even religion doesn't tell you anything is guaranteed. It gives you tools and ways to navigate through uncertainty, faith, belief. But as humans, we want to be in control every time. We're spoiled. We're in control of our vegetables reaching in 10 minutes. We're in control of everything working the way we want to. So when we feel even the slightest out of control, some people get depressed, some people need anti-anxiety, and some people feel so out of control. The point is, the sooner you make peace with uncertainty is real. Tell me what is certain. You may not like this part of this conversation. Tell me, what is certain? Some people say, Luke, your breath is certain. It isn't. If your heart stops breathing, is your breath certain? Nothing is certain, but we want certainty because it feels and makes us feel safe. So it is not, it is absolutely not. Someone's beautifully put, only change is certain. And it's true. How is this event going to change all of us? Some people will align more strongly with their spiritual paths. Some people will spend and value human life more. Everyone will change according to this. That's the only thing that is actually certain. So now, the last point before we move into the news is someone else's story, the bitter, ugly truth. Someone else's story does not have to become our story. As much as you don't like how this sounds, someone else's story does not have to become your story. Parent, oh, my son was doing drugs. He's only 15 years now. All the mothers are, oh, my son. No, that's that child's story. It doesn't have to become your story. What helps us to differentiate this? Mindfulness. Mindfulness. But if we're not mindful and we're connected to only the chatter and outside worlds and WhatsApp groups and social media, we're so disconnected that we are taking other people's fears and making it our own when they're not. Someone else's story does not have to become your story. Just because an air crash happened doesn't mean yours has to. Can it happen? We don't know. But don't make other stories your story. We do this when we are living from a space of fear, when we're living from a space of faith, belief. We have our peace. We can navigate through when we're in a sense of fear, disharmony, disorientation. Fears become stories and illusions that may never, ever happen. Why do children learn through storytelling? Why do marketing companies love selling through storytelling? Because the human brain loves stories because it helps you make sense of something, which gives you a sense of safety. Why does bad news attract us, and why do news channels only show us bad news? It's based on the psychology of the human mind called negativity bias. Humans pay more attention to negative events and not positive events because the negativity bias prioritizes survival by making us alert. Oh no, there's a rape that happened. There's a plane crash that happened. There's a robbery that happened. Survival mode. We want to know that information so we can do what we should do to protect ourselves. And we want to follow more into that information until we get a clear picture that the accident happened because of this. Then it settles down in our mind. And news channels know this. And that's why they show you more negative news, more and more and more, for clickbait, revenue, money, and all of that stuff. I'm not here to judge them. It's for you to understand. Is it normal to be attracted to bad news? Absolutely yes. But it is your choice through action to see how much of that you're absorbing. How much of that you're absorbing. Bad news evokes emotions like anger, sadness, all of those things, which makes the stories more compelling. And then we like to share those stories. Oh, do you know what happened in that village? You know that auntie with cancer, what happened to her? Okay, this is not gossiping. We share this because we hope that People can learn more and more through it, and art safety is threatened. And then, oh, you know that auntie with cancer, it went, she had ajwain water and lemon, and her cancer went across. And you want to spread that news completely, whether it's right information or wrong information, because there's a part of you that wants to provide safety from other people, whether it's right or wrong. So these are all human traits that you and I and everyone has. Only through mindfulness can we use it the right way. So the media obviously profits out of all of these things. What are some of the things that we can do? Number one, draw your boundaries with news. Draw your boundaries. If you cannot handle the news anymore, take a break. Curate your sources. If it's only one channel, follow one channel. You're following multiple channels. Each channel has to compete with one another by being unique with their stories. So they're going deeper into the lives of the victim, deeper into this, deeper into, and you're just getting more and more overwhelmed. The action within control right now is the boundary that you draw. If it's affecting you, ask yourself, can more information help me feel better? If yes, please watch all the news in the world. If no, it is your responsibility to start drawing your boundaries, curating your sources for where you're getting your news from. What you can control right now is the focus on you. Can I volunteer? Can I help? Can I support? Can I go get a workout? Anything that makes you feel good about yourself, that is your responsibility right now. If the news is threatening your peace and taking away your peace, it is your responsibility to stop that. You can practice emotional awareness like meditation, visualization. You can pray. You can do all of the things that make you feel better. It's important for you to talk it out. If you're feeling lost right now, do you have someone that you can express your feelings? Part of all of our healing is talking about this, talking about it to your loved ones, if counsel if you don't have anyone, but express your feelings. Only by talking about how and why you're feeling this will you start to feel better. But controlling your media intake is absolutely your responsibility. Period. Someone wants to heal from drug addiction, you change their environment. You want to change your thoughts, you change what you're listening to, what you're watching, what you're reading. It's extremely important to understand that. So as we reach the end now to wrap up, randomness. The human mind doesn't like randomness. We like everything should make sense and everything should make order. But you've understood right now why your mind is emotionally turmoil. It is searching for something to make sense of the situation. Will we get better? Will we recover from this? Absolutely yes. Some people very quickly, some people long. It's important that you influence the right actions. If you keep feeding your fears, what's going to grow is more and more and more fear. Now you understood, this is my fear. What am I going to do about it? Can I reframe it? Can I take different actions? Embrace uncertainty. As much as you hate the thought of it, embrace uncertainty. The only thing that is in control are the actions that you can influence. I don't know what my future is going to be, but I can plant seeds every day, save some money, plan all of that. I'm planting seeds, but I can't be every morning. Oh, the future is going to be like this. Is the future going to be like that? You have a miserable life right now. There is nothing that is certain. So the only thing that you do it is embrace it, like death. Death is certain. So we embrace it, knowing that it's going to happen. We don't think about it because it's not something pleasant that we think about. But the ones who resist it are the ones who constantly suffer. Okay, the next point, express it, focus on living in the present. That's what it teaches all of us today, that life is fragile. Life can go away in a second. What does that teach us? I want you to write now. Knowing that anything can happen at any time. What can we learn from this? How are we going to live our lives differently? Knowing this. Put in your answers right now. Put in your answers. Cherish every present moment. Very good. What else? What? We can always learn. We can sometimes take a difficult past and make them into lessons. You know what? A lot of our patients die. We're sorry for that. But when we make it into a positive, there's so many things that we learn from our dying patients, which can now go into solutions to help other patients live. We've taken a bad, we make it into a good. We can't take away from the suffering, the loss of life. We're not talking about that. We're not taking away from it. but you look at the most ugly past that you've had and you continue to look at it as ugly, you're feeling ugly right now. But if I take a past, I wish it never happened, but what are the lessons I can take from that? I am moving from negative to positive, negative to constructive. Focus on positivity. Yes, all these points are fantastic. I am taking a lesson out of the air crash without dishonoring the loss of life, without not validating my fears, but I am taking lessons from it and feeling a little bit more in control. A little bit more in control. If you are feeling sad right now, it is because you are thinking sad thoughts. How can I take that sad thought now and make it into something better? If you're feeling angry right now, it's because there are angry thoughts. Of course, I'm not here to judge the airline, but I went through emotions of anger, and I'll tell you why. Whatever the reason of the air crash is, every time you step onto a flight, you find broken seats, non-working air conditioners, screens, crappy food, torn headrests. What angers me is if people don't care about the little things, why will they care about the big things? And my mind moved into the direction of, do they really care about human life? Was it a maintenance issue? Whatever it is, that's my valid emotion. You may have a different valid emotion. All our minds are trying to make sense of everything. I had a question. Luke, some people are saying this is a miracle. Some people are saying, no, he jumped out. All of that stuff. Again, how does it matter? How does it matter whether it's a miracle or whether someone jumped out of the exit? Again, the mind is trying to find something that gives us safety. Safety. Some people don't want to believe in God, so they'll find every possible way to not believe in God. That's okay. That's their choice. Let them be. Some of you would be, that's a miracle. That's God's work. If that gave you safety and validation and improved your faith and your strength and your relationship with God, good for you. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You want to know my personal opinion? If so many people say, Luke, what do you think? Is it a miracle? Is a survivor? Obviously, it's a miracle. Is it because I believe in God? No, it has nothing to do with that. I believe in science and I believe in God. If you look at what they wrote, the scientists wrote that when the plane crashed, the highest temperature reached was 1,000 degrees centigrade. A human being at 47 degrees centigrade, the skin will start to melt off their bones. 47 degrees. This is 1,000 degrees. Let's say the survivor was away from the maximum impact of 1,000 degrees. Scientists said that the minimum temperature, even at the furthest point, would be 100 degrees. You and I now know what happens at 47 degrees. So whether the survivor jumped out of an exit or whatever it is, he couldn't have escaped the temperature. Scientists have already written what the temperature would be. So in my mind, I have science and I have my faith. It's a miracle. And if that's what makes me feel happy and gives me hope that miracles can also happen, I see miracles every day in my practice. I see tumors disappear. I see medications that don't work. And in the human body, I see miracles all the time. So I believe in miracles. That gives me faith. It gives me strength. It gives me hope. What works for you? If you have become a social media sheep or a news channel sheep, you will always feel out of control because you don't have a mind of your own and you're always grasping for little bits of hope. So you can't judge anyone. If it's a miracle, it's a miracle. If it's science, it's science. Who cares? What is the most important factor? That, hey, if science saved a volunteer, science can save you. If a miracle saved a volunteer, a miracle can save you. If your time has come to die and my time has come to die in the next 1 minute, we will die, period. That is the bitter, ugly truth of life. Now you take what you've learned from that and you start to model the way you need your life to be. So now that you've understood the human mind and how our minds are always looking for safety, let's take a breakup, for example, closure. It's called cognitive closure. Like I said, the moment we have all the information as to why the crash happened, most of you will feel better. It's called cognitive closure. You're in a relationship. Your loved one breaks up with you. You constantly suffer, mainly from, why does he not love me anymore? One day you get closure.
And the healing starts right then because you got cognitive closure. It started to make sense of you. Oh, he loved another woman. You may still be angry. Oh no, something happened. Or this happened. Or I badly behaved and he left me because of that. But you need closure for the mind to feel safer and to move on. That's the best example I can give you because everyone has relationship issues at some point in their life. We struggle with the loss of love. Why did this person love me and not love me anymore? But when you get that closure, complete closure, that's when the healing actually begins. Till then, oh, go find another man, find another girl. Life is like this. There are better men, there are better women. Band-aids. When you get cognitive closure, then you have understanding. When you have understanding, the healing starts always from understanding. First is understanding, and then are tools and techniques to make you feel better. So now that you've understood the human mind, all of our feelings are validated. We can accept our feelings, but we now have to choose how we want to respond to them, what actions we want to take, what actions we want to influence to help us get out of that. If we're only stuck in fear, fear is going to grow. If I move from fear to those little actions, the little action could just be, I just want to be alone for 2 days and process my feelings. Even that is an action. For someone else, the action may just be acceptance. It is what it is. I pray for them and I just pray I have a safe life. Great action. Any action is action. It moves you further away from fear. I know we reached the end. I'll just get quickly into the Q&A box and have a look at all of these things. So, this is not just about the crash. I hope you take this understanding and now you can apply to whether you have a disease, you have a problem in your workplace, you have a fear with debt, you have a fear. This is how the human mind works. It's not applicable to just the plane crash. It's applicable to the human mind and how and why we perceive threats, why we look for bad news, why we look for solutions, because we're looking for safety, which is why one of the most powerful affirmations is, I am safe, I feel safe. Everything you're doing today is indirectly moving you towards safety. You're trying to earn more money to give you a sense of safety. You're trying to hold your relationship together to give you a sense of safety. You're trying to protect your child, not send them for sleepovers because you want to provide a safety net of safety. Everything comes down to safety. I can guarantee you this from my own experience. Every patient, they may need chemo, radiation, medicine, all of that, nutrition. But if patients can cultivate a sense of feeling safe no matter what is happening, that is their biggest healing. They provide a platform for the human body and the mind to heal. All right, so I'm going to go quickly through people have written stories over here. I was shaken after I realized I had to check on someone, and this time it was a tragedy. My friend's father lives in Ahmedabad. Of course, these are all, you see, we're connecting with people suffering, and that's why you have that suffering. Would you be able to share the recording? Yes, we will share the recording very soon. I can see all the words that people have done. I was to take a trip with my husband without my twin 6-year-old for the first time, but now I'm scared to do it. It's a valid fear right now. Okay. But tomorrow, even if you're taking a road trip without your kids, different context, the same thing can happen. Remember? So right now, your fear is valid, but understand it's not a fact. Okay. You're not going to take an air trip because you don't want to separate from your kid. But tomorrow, even just going to office and leaving your kid at home is the same thing, different context. So over time, break the context of the visual you have in front of you, and it'll help you ease into that. Okay. How do you accept the loss of a loved one? I have no answer for that. I absolutely have no answer for that. You have to go through the feelings that are real. You will eventually reach acceptance. Some people reach it fast, some people don't. But I don't think anyone is ever equipped to tell you how fast you should accept the loss of a loved one. Why am I constantly drawn seeking to know about the crash? We already explained that. How to stay positive by first validating your negative feeling. And every time a negative comes up, how can I make it positive? How can I make it positive? I have a flight tomorrow. Okay, but I do trust the process of life. That's what's working for me. You find what works for you. Okay, then how do you deal with a toxic family? This is absolutely irrelevant to the topic. Is it okay to hate the person who caused you pain? If hate is making you feel good about yourself, please go ahead and hate. But you know it isn't. Hate is like rust. You can feel hate in the beginning. That's again coming from a loss of control, revenge. Let that settle down as quickly as possible. If hate serves you in a positive way, please hate, but it never does. So that's my answer for you. Okay, how do I balance being authentic? What I need, guilt, all of that stuff. My choices don't match with my family. I'm sorry, this is absolutely irrelevant. Okay, I lost my dad suddenly last year. He had a heart attack. How do I reframe the negative emotion to a positive? My dad died of a heart attack. I feel really bad about that. And now you go to a positive by thinking about all the amazing times you had for your father. Pray for your father's safety right now. What are the things that you can learn that you can do to make your life better? Thank you, everyone, for your time. I know it's a Sunday. You have your lives to get back to you. I hope all of you practice the exercise. I hope all of you will now move from a space of understanding why you feel this way, validated, it's okay. And now, what are you going to do with it? Thank you so much for your time.